Hello, it is me, Adam. And this is our resume of a niche of the most marketable books that talk about money, mindset, and freedom. And in this video, we will talk about the keys and principles of this book, The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. Now, before you click away because you see a book that was written in 1949, I want you to listen to me very carefully. This isn't just a book about stocks. This is a book about psychology. It is a book about emotional control. And frankly, in the year 2026, where we have AI trading bots, crypto swings that happen in seconds, and an economy that feels like a roller coaster, this book is actually more relevant today than it was when our grandparents were reading it. I'm going to be honest with you right from the start. I read this book so you don't have to struggle through 600 pages of dry, financial text. I've distilled it down to the absolute gold nuggets. But we aren't just going to summarize it. I'm going to critique it. I'm going to tell you where Graham is a genius, and I'm also going to tell you where his advice is incredibly hard to follow in today's world. So, get comfortable. Put your phone on silent. Let's dismantle the Bible of value investing. The first thing we have to talk about, and this is the foundation of everything, is the definition of what you are actually doing with your money. Graham starts the book by drawing a massive line in the sand. On one side, you have investment. On the other side, you have speculation. Most people watching this video, and I'm including myself in this in the past, think they are investing. You buy a stock because you saw a headline. You buy a crypto coin because your friend said it's going to the moon. You buy a tech company because AI is the future. Graham looks at that and says, no, that is not investing. That is speculation. He gives us this very specific, boring, and beautiful definition. An investment operation is one which, upon thorough analysis, promises safety of principal and an adequate return. Operations not meeting these requirements are speculative. Let's break that down logically. Thorough analysis. That doesn't mean watching a 10-minute YouTube video. It means reading the annual report. It means looking at the debt. It means understanding the business model inside and out. Then, safety of principal. Are you reasonably sure you won't lose your money? And finally, adequate return. Not a 1,000% return overnight. An adequate return. If you are buying something hoping someone else will pay more for it next week, you are speculating. Now, here is my personal opinion and critique on this. Graham isn't saying speculation is evil. He's not saying don't gamble. He's just saying, stop lying to yourself. If you want to take $1,000 and throw it at a risky asset, fine. But call it what it is, a casino fund. Put it in a separate account. Never mix your gambling money with your investment money. In 2026, with the trading apps we have on our phones, this line is blurred. The apps are designed to make us feel like investors when we are actually just pulling a slot machine lever. Graham is the antidote to that. Now, let's move to the second major pillar of the book. Graham categorizes all of us into two types of investors. And you need to decide, right now, which one you are. You are either a defensive investor or an enterprising investor. The defensive investor, which Graham argues is the vast majority of people, has a primary goal of safety and freedom from effort. You don't want to spend 20 hours a week reading financial statements. You have a job. You have a family. You have hobbies. For you, the goal is to avoid mistakes. The enterprising investor, the active investor, is willing to treat investing like a business. They devote time, energy, and rigorous study to beat the market average. Here is the kicker, and this is where I think Graham's logic is undeniable. Being an enterprising investor does not depend on how smart you are. It depends on your personality and your time. If you are a doctor or an engineer with a high IQ, you might still be a terrible enterprising investor because you don't have the time to analyze stocks properly. So, what should the defensive investor do? Graham's advice is shockingly simple, and it predicted the future. He basically invented the concept of the index fund before it existed. He says you should own a cross-section of the market. Today, that means buying the S&P 500 or a total world stock ETF. You buy it, you hold it, and you shut up. He also suggests a rule that I find really interesting, though maybe a bit conservative for us today. It's the 50-50 rule. He says a defensive investor should split their money, 50% in high-grade bonds, or cash equivalents, and 50% in high-quality stocks. When the stock market crashes and your stocks drop to 40% of your portfolio, you sell some bonds and buy stocks to get back to 50-50. When the market booms and stocks become 60%, you sell the stocks and buy bonds. This forces you to be disciplined. It forces you to buy low and sell high without ever trying to predict the future. Now, let's pause for a critique here. In the current economic environment of 2026, bonds have been tricky. Yields have fluctuated wildly. Some modern financial advisors would say that for a young person, 50% in bonds is too conservative. You might not grow your wealth fast enough to beat inflation. And that's a fair critique. But the logic behind it, the mechanism of rebalancing, is flawless. It removes your emotion. It makes you a robot. And in investing, robots win. Speaking of emotion, we have to talk about the most famous character in financial history. If you take nothing else from this video, please remember this character. Mr. Market. Graham asks us to imagine that we own a share in a business, and we have a partner named Mr. Market. Every single day, Mr. Market knocks on your door. He is a manic depressive. He is emotionally unstable. Some days, Mr. Market is euphoric. The sun is shining, he sees rainbows everywhere, and he offers to buy your share of the business for a wildly high price. Other days, he is depressed. He thinks the world is ending, war is coming, and he offers to sell you his share for pennies on the dollar. Here is the critical lesson. Mr. Market is there to serve you, not to guide you. Most of us look at stock prices and think, oh, the price is down, the market is telling me my company is bad. Graham says, no. The price is down because Mr. Market is having a depressive episode. If you are a true investor, you use this to your advantage. When Mr. Market is manic and offering a crazy high price, you sell to him. When he is depressed and offering a crazy low price, you buy from him. But you never, ever let him tell you what your business is worth. You calculate the value yourself. This is my favorite part of the book because it's so human. It explains why we feel panic. We are social animals. When everyone else is selling, we want to sell. Graham is telling us that to be an intelligent investor, you have to be socially awkward. You have to be willing to stand alone when the crowd is running the other direction. But how do you know when to buy? How do you know the price is actually safe? This leads us to the final and most important concept of the book. Graham says that if he had to distill the secret of sound investing into 3 words, they would be margin of safety. Imagine you are an engineer building a bridge. You know that a truck weighing 10,000 pounds needs to drive across it. Do you build the bridge to hold exactly 10,000 pounds? Of course not. If the driver is a little heavy, or the wind blows, the bridge collapses. You build the bridge to hold 30,000 pounds. That gap, that extra 20,000 pounds of capacity, is your margin of safety. Investing is the same. If you calculate that a company is worth $100 per share, you do not buy it at $100. You wait until Mr. Market is depressed and offers it to you for $70. That $30 difference is your margin of safety. Why do you need it? Because you might be wrong. Your calculation might be off. The economy might tank. The margin of safety protects you from your own stupidity and from bad luck. Now, I want to offer a serious critique here, specifically for us in 2026. This is where Graham's book gets difficult. In the old days, Companies own factories, trains, and physical inventory. It was easy to calculate their book value, what the company would be worth if you sold all the parts. Today, the biggest companies in the world are tech giants. Their value is in code, brand, and networks. These are intangible assets. Graham's strict formulas for calculating value can sometimes make modern tech companies look wildly expensive, even when they are actually good investments. If you followed Graham strictly, you would have missed out on Amazon, Google, and Apple for the last 20 years because they rarely traded with a classic margin of safety in terms of physical assets. So, does that mean the book is broken? No. The principle remains. The margin of safety today might not be about factory equipment. It might be about buying a company that has zero debt and billions in cash. It might be about buying a company that is so dominant that even if they screw up, they will still make money. The math has changed, but the mindset hasn't. You still want to buy $1 for 50 cents. You just have to be smarter about how you define that dollar. So, let's wrap this up with a logical conclusion and a challenge for you. The Intelligent Investor is not a book about getting rich quick. If you are looking for that, you are in the wrong place. This is a book about not getting poor. It is a book about survival. Graham teaches us that the market is a pendulum that swings between unsustainable optimism, making stocks too expensive, and unjustified pessimism, making them too cheap. The Intelligent Investor is a realist who sells to optimists and buys from pessimists. My opinion. The hardest part of this book isn't the math. It's the discipline. It is incredibly boring to be a defensive investor. It is incredibly hard to sit on cash for 2 years waiting for a crash to buy cheap. It is incredibly painful to watch your friends make money on a meme coin while you hold your index funds. But, if you look at history, the people who follow Graham's principles, like Warren Buffett, are the ones who are still standing 50 years later. The speculators, they burn bright, and they burn out. So here is my challenge to you for the next week. I want you to look at your portfolio. Look at every single asset you own and ask yourself 3 questions. Did I perform a thorough analysis on this, or did I buy it on a whim? Do I have a margin of safety? Am I acting like a defensive investor, or am I a speculator in disguise? Be honest with yourself. If you realize you are speculating, that's okay. Just admit it. Size it down. And put the rest of your money to work in a way that lets you sleep at night. Thank you for reading or listening to this resume. This book changed my life not because it made me a billionaire overnight, but because it stopped me from losing everything when the market crashed. And in this game, survival is the only thing that matters. I'm Adam. This has been our deep dive into the Intelligent Investor. Stay disciplined, ignore Mr. Market, and I will see you in the next one.